comfortable. It's okay if he has a little bit of pain here and there, but now it is said that complete remission is the goal, and the newer criteria say that less than one tender joint, less than one swollen joint, virtually no joint should be tender or swollen in patients. The treatment should be such. And there has been a sea change in the management of rheumatoid. Now people say you hit hard. Hit hard on the inflammation so that inflammation settles down and patient leads a happy life. Last decade had seen many newer drugs coming up in the market, including disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs and biological agents. So treatment has become simpler as well as difficult. More drugs, more confusion, which to start when. So to remember that in management of patients with rheumatoid arthritis, early appropriate use of DMARDs is must. If patient is not responding during the follow-up visit, patient must be put on combination DMARDs or biological agents which are appropriate for the patient must be started. There should be rapid escalation of the therapy if required in patients who are just not responding to treatment. And glucocorticosteroids should be judiciously used. It shouldn't be for the sake of controlling inflammation in all the patients. But if patients require lower dose of corticosteroids can be given. So the goal is treat to target, and target is to achieve the remission. Now coming to chronic non-inflammatory polyarthritis, and here the prototype is osteoarthritis, which could be localized or it could be generalized. Localized variety commonly occurs in knees, and generalized DIP joints, ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, any joint can be involved. Be careful, because many a time we have seen patient coming with joint pain. When we examine the patient, there is no swelling, but patient says patient develops swelling intermittently which persists for 2 to 3 days and then it goes off. So they malinger also for whatever reasons they feign their illness. It's very difficult to give them that label, but one must keep that also in mind in evaluating a patient who has come to you with joint pain and is not having any evidence of inflammation at that point of time. So red flags, as I am saying, any inflammation is a red flag. So patients must be referred to the physician or the rheumatologist, but green flags can be managed by orthopedicians or psychiatrists. Green flag means non-inflammatory disorders, which includes osteoarthritis in particular, or any traumatic injury leading to effusion. There could be any problem of the bursa or the tendon. Now, we just talked about joint, but there are extra-articular manifestations which are also very important, because arthritis, as you see, have many causes, exhaustive list of causes for polyarthritis. One must elicit history suggestive of some extra-articular manifestation, which could be pertaining to various organs. As I have mentioned, heel pain, which those who have seen patients with spondyloarthritis, it's a very common symptom in those patients. Other conditions where it can occur is osteoarthritis because of the appearance of calcaneal spur patients can have. Then myalgias can occur in patients, and conditions one must keep in mind are polymyositis, vasculitis, systemic lupus erythematosus, hypothyroidism, and various viral syndromes. Fever with arthritis, fever is not a symptom of rheumatoid in patients. So one must really keep in mind other etiology. If patient has come with only fever, significant fever with polyarthritis like systemic lupus erythematosus, viral arthritis, vasculitis, rheumatic fever, adult onset Still's disease, enteropathic or sarcoidosis. Oral ulcerations, as you can see in this photograph, this patient had tongue ulcer, which is very commonly seen in patients with Behçet's and reactive arthritis. Even SLE patients can have oral ulcerations. Raynaud's phenomena, this is all in combination of polyarthritis, scleroderma, SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, and inflammatory muscle disease. Dysphagia, scleroderma, Sjogren commonly, and inflammatory muscle diseases. Gut involvement can also occur in certain kind of arthritis, particularly in systemic sclerosis and polyarthritis nodosa. Pulmonary symptoms, as he's asked question that patient has pulmonary involvement in rheumatoid. Yes, pulmonary involvement can occur in many of the connective tissue diseases. As I have mentioned, particularly commonly Wegener's granulomatosis, polymyositis, systemic lupus erythematosus, sarcoid, scleroderma, rheumatoid arthritis. Neuropathy with arthritis, one must consider systemic lupus erythematosus, vasculitis, rheumatoid arthritis, amyloidosis or cryoglobulinias. Similarly, renal involvement in patients who have arthritis. Suppose a patient has come to you with polyarthritis, you do renal function test, you find renal failure. One must consider systemic lupus erythematosus, Wegener's granulomatosis, where the name has changed, it has become granulomatosis with polyangiitis now, polyarthritis nodosa, gout, Behçet's, reactive arthritis. Nail changes then also point towards certain kind of specific arthritis. As you can see in this photograph, these are the telangiectasias which are seen in patients with systemic lupus erythematosus, dermatomyositis and systemic sclerosis. Here you can see these pits and rizes which is found in patients with psoriasis. Periungual erythema you can see in this patient's fingers which can occur in systemic lupus erythematosus, scleroderma. Nail bed infarct suggests vasculitis which can occur in primary vasculitis or secondary vasculitis. Ocular examination is very important. Various kinds of manifestations can occur in these patients starting from scleritis, episcleritis, uveitis, which could be anterior uveitis or panuveitis. Then, as I mentioned when I was beginning my presentation, that family history is very important in these patients. Suppose a person comes to you with back pain and has arthritis, and there is family history of ankylosing spondylitis or spondarthritis in the family, then chances are that 30% chances are that this patient can have the similar illness. So, particularly in these conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, gout and psoriasis. Certain drugs can cause polyarthritis or polyarthralgia, that also one must keep in mind. Elderly male coming with polyarthritis, acute onset illness, one must keep at the back of the mind, is patient having some malignancy, because polyarthritis is seen as one of the manifestation of malignancy. Here are some of the photographs to show you. This patient had alopecia. This is typical photosensitivity rash, which is found in patients with systemic lupus erythematosus. This is pyoderma gangrenosum. Here you can see this patient came with polyarthritis, which was asymmetrical and had these lesions. It was a typical case of Ritter syndrome. These are the deep vasculitic lesions. This patient was just hypertensive and had asymmetrical polyarthritis and had these big lesions. And the biopsy confirmed the diagnosis of polyarthritis nodosa. This is periungual erythema with gangrene and Hepburn nodes. Erythema nodosum, palpable purpura, mucosal ulcerations. This is psoriasis, where you can see the penicillin clump deformity. So if a patient is coming with polyarthritis involving distal interphalangeal joint, then one must look at the areas where the psoriasis is commonly found, at the extensor surfaces and the natal cleft. This is calcinosis cutis in one of the patients who had history of ulcerations over body with some doubtful proximal muscle weakness and had calcinosis cutis. Here in the ear, patient had dermatomyositis. It is commonly seen in systemic sclerosis and dermatomyositis. This is saddle nose deformity. Even in diabetes, patients can have joint symptoms, particularly with which is called stiff hand syndrome. There's a sign called prayer sign where patient is not able to approximate both hands. This is very typical of diabetes mellitus. A word about investigation. No screening test exists for arthritis, and lab investigations in rheumatology should be ordered and interpreted cautiously and only within the context of the patient's clinical condition. And the search for autoantibodies should be made only when there is a strong suspicion of autoimmune rheumatic diseases. The practice of ordering rheumatological panels must be abundant. And by saying rheumatological panels, I mean that these patients, sometimes the lab people, they approach you saying that we do uric acid, we do ANA, we do RF, and we give this in this much of price. But if the patient does not require uric acid, why do it? So, or you do it, it is found, suppose 6 is the upper limit and it is 8, then unnecessarily patient would be labeled as gouty arthritis by a person who is not aware of the condition. My time is over? Okay, so I'll wind up here and I'll take up questions. Thank you very much for the patient sharing.